So today on Screenshots, we're looking at another Oscar snub. It could fall into the acting category or best supporting, depending on which side of the fence you're on. And this is another one of those obvious parts that should have been nominated for Oscar. You know, nominated for a Golden Globe, but not for an Oscar. It was Donald Sutherland, our St. John, New Brunswick native, one of the greatest Canadian actors of all time, in a Robert Redford movie called Ordinary People that won Best Picture in controversial first version at the 1980 Oscars over Raging Bull. Now, Redford's movie was based on a best-selling book, and the plot of it is extremely dramatic and extremely touching. In this movie, the Jarrett family are an upper-middle-class group in Chicago. They're trying to return to normalcy after the death of their teenage son and the attempted suicide of their son, Conrad. Now, as the plot unfolds, Conrad, played by Timothy Hutton, comes home after a several month stay at a psychiatric hospital, and he feels left out on the way back. He's a championship swimmer. He's got a lot of friends, in school, but he feels like alienated by his friends and family. And he started seeing a noted psychiatrist called Dr. Berger, played by Emmy Award winner Judd Hirsch from Taxi. As the plot unfolds, we find out three things very quickly. Conrad's father, played by Sutherland, is a very, very open and generous person. But his mother, who basically favored Conrad's brother over him, and everything we see in the movie, is a cold stone bitch. Mary Tyler Moore in real life and her previous productions was kind, gentle, all the good positivity, America's sweetheart. And in this movie, she basically destroyed that image with one of the most intense performances in the movie history in the 1980s, led to her getting an Oscar nomination. Now, as the plot goes along, Calvin, Conrad's father, played by Sutherland, tries to mediate and try to connect with his son and understand his wife. Now Beth, played by Mary Tyler Moore, basically is close to the vest. She's trying to maintain her composure, trying to restore her family to what it once was, but because she favored the son that died over the son that survived, it's basically built on sand. Again, she appears to have loved her elder son more. And because of the suicide attempt, she basically grows cold against Conrad, and it's unwritten that she basically wishes that Conrad would have died and the other son would have survived. And that was something with the Timothy Hutton character became more and more apparent as the plot went on. And let me tell you, Hutton's performance led to a Best Supporting Actor victory. And he just does a tremendous job with the role. He draws out compassion, not pity from the public, but he plays Conrad like you have to really understand what people go through to understand why people would do something like that. Now, the big climax in the movie, actually, a lot of emotional climaxes happen around Christmas time. I guess the best way to describe it is that Conrad becomes enraged because Beth doesn't want to take a photo with him. Basically, should be a very normal moment, and she refuses. Beth confronts him over the fact that Conrad, in his own coping mechanism, was skipping school and been lying about where he's been showing up. And let me tell you, it becomes it becomes very evident that there's a power play going on. The coolness and openness of Conrad and his father against the cold-heartedness of Beth. And a lot of families back in the day, and also families that suffer from control issues, this was quite ordinary to happen. Now, the movie itself, Ordinary People, was criticized because it seemed a very simple plot, a very simple movie to win Best Picture, but there's a lot of complex things going on. And as controversial as it is in some of my friends, I don't think Raging Bull has held up as well as Ordinary People, because in 2019, with the more openness about mental health issues and family issues, the movie has more of a resonance now than it did in 1980. Now, the big setback for Conrad is later on, where one of his fellow patients in the hospital. She ends up committing suicide, and it puts him over the edge. And Conrad, because of this, has to really confront why he feels this way and why he feels left out. Calvin, in a very famous scene, basically sits down and tells Beth, I don't think I love you anymore, and I don't think you're capable of love. And Beth, of course, she decides a big decision, which is the big climax of the movie. I'm not going to give it away, but it's extremely intense, the last 20 minutes of the movie, to see where this is going to go. Now, as we go along, you had a reunion of the cast before Mary Tyler Moore unfortunately died. And, they talked a lot, I think it was EW or Vanity Fair, about the importance of the movie. It was an extreme box office hit. It made almost 10 times its budget. It only cost $6 million, made 54.8 at the box office. And it created almost like the new 2-hour teledrama style that we see in movies a lot. It won, Best Picture. Redford won One Direction, and Alvin Sargent, a great writer, won Best Adapted Screenplay. Now, Timothy Hutton, actually, this was his first film role. He was on television before, and again, Mary Tyler Moore, it's still considered her breakout movie, and she had a tough year that year because there was a death in her family, similar to what happened to her dead son character in the movie. And Entertainment Weekly, in that article, called it one of the worst acting snubs in the history of the Academy Awards. Now, we know that Sutherland got a honorary Oscar in 2018, well deserved. But I still wonder why the Academy would not recognize someone like him. Because, Donald Sutherland, Dirty Dozen, Don't Look Now, Invasion of the Body Snatchers sequel, various British and U.S. productions. Donald Sutherland was, again, a class act, a fine gentleman, a fine actor, big Montreal Expo fan, which we all loved him for. If you remember old Olympic Stadium, he would show up in his trench coat and hat and cheer on Bill Lee and, Timmy Raines and all the people. But I think the Academy had a brain fart. I don't think it was deliberate. I think basically he thought, he got the Golden Globe nominations. And if there was a sixth nomination the Academy Awards do for actor, which he really should try to adapt, he would have been number 6. But and it's considered one of the best critically acclaimed movie of all time. Rotten Tomatoes, it's at 90%. It could have been like a very straightforward, suburban soap opera, but it was not. There's no really cheap shots against, the type of yuppie or puppy attitude of the 80s. But the theme song, or the theme score, was based on Pichabel's canon, and let me tell you, it still resonates with a lot of people. And one thing about the movie, I must say, when you watch it the first time, you wouldn't catch on all the nuances. The Judd Hirsch character could be considered a cliche of a Jewish psychiatrist, but Judd Hirsch, Hutton, the different Diana Manoff, from Greece, she plays the unfortunate friend of the Timothy Hutton character. The supporting character, Quinn Redeker's in there too, a great writer, good colleague, and of Redford for years. I would suggest getting a Sunday afternoon like today, where it's storming, and sit down, and watch the movie if you haven't seen it before, and just take mental notes as to what they were trying to say in the movie. I think Redford was trying to basically say it's okay to forgive yourself if you're mentally ill. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to seek help. It's okay to be a parent to go to a child and say, listen, no matter what happens, I'm going to help you through this. And maybe that's why people are still pissed off about the lack of Academy Award nomination for Donald Sutherland, because who would not want an uncle or a father or a role model like Donald Sutherland to say, it's going to be okay. He doesn't take sides in the movie. If you look at it very subtly, he doesn't really take sides. He wants everybody to basically see what's going on. And something, it could have been, again, it could have been soap opera tropes, but it's not. It's a very straightforward movie. It is what it is. And maybe De Niro was a great performance of Raging Bull, but it couldn't make the whole movie because there were certain characters actors and actresses behind Joe Pesci in Raging Bull that didn't help the movie, and it hasn't aged well, especially Kathy Moriarty. But with ordinary people, every piece pretty well fits. And even, the scenes with his friends, when one of the friends said, it wasn't only you that lost him. Who would have thought of saying that in the movie? Saying to somebody mentally ill, it's not just you that's hurting. That was groundbreaking. Anyway, so on this snowy Sunday, where everybody is pretty well stuck in New Brunswick, have yourself a good day, and as we like to say in Canterbury, keep your snowplow off the ice. Bye.